I have to show these two. I have to show them because one, the little sketch, and two, aside from the fact that there's a glare here, it's one of my favorite laser still life. It's in 12, of course, in that Pierre Lévy Donation. But again, this mysterious thing, the great driving diagonals of the table and the open drawer, and then the ovals of the frying pan, the great plate, and the bowl above, and how Durand will do this, pull back here, pull over here, a little thing back here, the different thing that happens here with the kidneys in the frying pan, and then he gives a portrait of each of the fish. A portrait, I mean, mackerel, whatever that kind of fish this is, hake, I don't know. But it is marvelous. It is one of the great Durands. And again, these are the Durands that Giacometti was turned off by. He couldn't convince people. He couldn't convince Sweeney. I guess he was alive, he still couldn't convince people. But you know what Durand does here, this thing about color. Look, you see this plane and this plane. And then you see that little piece of light behind the fish, and then you see a little piece of light on the fish, and you see the thing that comes here. Well, what kills color is nuance. And really, an example of that, and I will show later a painting by Ang and a painting by Dürer, where they really have it. In Washington, in the Phillips collection, where they have marvelous stuff, but there was one room which was a heaven and hell. There was something by Akins called Madame Van Buren. Gray-haired woman sitting like this. And what a piece of shit that painting was. Horrible. No color, no form, no nothing. I mean, it just fell into pieces. He said, well, what kind of color I put here? It's kind of a gray. It's kind of a different gray here. It's kind of a different gray here. It's stupid, it's jerky, it's unfelt painting. And the form just slid away. Opposite was Edward Hicks, Peaceable Kingdom by Hicks. God damn, that painting held up like solid rock. I mean, moved from plane to plane, what a cadence. Then there was a Winslow Homer. Now, when Akins does a sculling thing, that's one of his best things, I guess. And when Homer does crack the wood with a swoop out, that's one of his best things. This was a piece of crap. There was two fishermen sou'westers on top of a hill. And the sky, the fishermen, their sou'westers, the hill was all one goddamn plane. Junk! Facing it, catty corner, was a rider. And a lovely rider, a very blonde rider called Gazehead. Small landscape, Gazehead. Oh, so limpid, so alive. It's like saying, like, painters and bullshitters, you know. Now, the bullshitters they work with nuances of color. They work like, you know, oh, I'm making changes. But the changes don't say anything. The changes have to sort of build a rhythm, which is precise. The whole thing of painting is precision, really. This is precise. Very precise painting. The Monet is a very precise painting. I'm not talking about, God forgive me, I'm not talking about painfully painting. I'm not talking about whether you can see a brush stroke. I didn't mention one thing. The most overwhelming thing in my first view of Mondrian, I should have mentioned that, was that when I went into the gallery at the Gallivan collection, that's before I would visit Mondrian, when I went into the gallery of the Gallivan collection, I saw these paintings by Mondrian, and I felt he had packed the white pigment and dragged across with a stiff bristled brush. There were these vertical trowels right across, and then through that white pigment was this shiny black plane, zip, and it zipped this way, it just knocked the hell out of it. Wow, he was so alive to that. And of course, when you look at the Mondrian, it's very, very different from when you look at this. But they both have this precision. Precision is a matter of spirit. It's a matter of rhythm. Everything in art is a matter of rhythm. Really. Without rhythm, you're sunk. The next, please. Okay. I'll tell you a little story about these paintings. This painting, and by the way, to show you how bad this reproduction was, that is a cobalt ultramarine blue here. Well, it's not a cobalt ultramarine blue in this. But I saw that painting in the collector's home. It was owned, and probably still is. I think she's dead, but maybe the daughters have it. What was her name? Was it Carmen Garon, I think? And her three daughters posed for Balthus. And actually, I went to see the Balthus painting she owned, and I see these great Durands. I see this thing, it knocks me from the roof. And that was in the morning. My rendezvous was like around 10:30 or something like that. So I thought, I'm going to get a bite at the old Museum of Modern Art College of Tokyo and look at the collection. And I had an appointment to see, not an appointment to see, it's not true. I was going to see John Lee Marie wasn't. That day I went to visit Giacometti. That's it. Later on, there's no appointment. He'd go around at the time he was getting up and going out to eat at leisure, have his late breakfast. But I saw a Picasso very similar to this. And I felt, you know, I sort of grew up on Picasso. I used to go to the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. when I was a kid in high school, in 1938, 39, and I looked at all the Cahiers d'Arts and really pour over them. And I mean, Picasso killed me. I mean, these killed me, the Cubist things killed me, everything about Picasso killed me. But then after seeing this and seeing this, I felt like, God, this thing is a bit puffed up, you know? It's like a pastiche, or maybe it's a pastiche of genius. It is a pastiche. He's a pastichier of genius, there's no doubt of that. But it's a little bit of pastiche. He's sort of plain. It's like a parody. Great, he handled very well. But the Duran was something else. It was an adventure. So I had a photograph of the Duran because I had the LA4 book. And I had something I got from the museum, a couple of postcards of a couple of Picassos, not that Picasso. And I ended up with Giacometti. And I said, you know, blah, 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 blah. And then he said, and put it simply, he said, no contest. The Picasso is all about art. It's preordained, you know. The dot. Duran's taking a chance at every second on that canvas. He's you know, for instance, what happens with the drapery here? And what happens with the drapery here, and the drapery here, and these great planes that are here. And the other thing is like, you know, the dot, he feels it, nice. But with the Duran, he's doing a very, very different thing. He's hesitating, coming back in again. Look at the little planes. Look at the way her neck, the plane of her neck, and it comes on a diagonal, it comes into her cheek, and the neck there, and the little plane on top of the shoulder there. And look at the configuration of the two arms here, and how he drags all the way down here. He's exploring. He's getting into that mood. Picasso, fantastic memory. But he absorbs museums, Picasso. He was able to go into, you know, like anything, like Iberian art, Pompeian art, and just sort of throw it out, regurgitate it, bam, like that, copy it just like that, always in a sense of parody, though. And sometimes very, very, always gifted, and sometimes very, very good, and sometimes not so good. Let's look at some more of these comparisons. For a whole winter, Duran just did drawings of nudes. And I paged through, I had this taken from that book of LA4, and I paged through with Giacometti again, okay? And he was going in and out of this, and he would turn to the Picasso and say, you know, it's just, it's you know, maybe he was in a real bad mood about Picasso that day, I don't know, but he really was tough on Picasso, even tougher than I was. But I could see what he meant, because when you look at this, again, it's nice, you know, dot. But God, this guy finds such exhilarating, fresh configurations and really takes a chance to get into that mood. Let's see a few more. And I'm going to show some good Picasso too. I'm not going to read that. No, I think you, that's it, thank you. Again, look at the way he gets the thing here, up in her armpit, the two breasts, that long arm coming down, how he works this whole thing out, and marvelous thing with the head and the hair. And again, it's sort of like, the Picasso, it's like a predictable beat that he gets. And it's sort of massive, but it does have an air of parody. Now let's see the next two. Here Picasso begins to hit it. And I think this is a superb Duran, a superb drawing. It's one that we spent a lot of time on that afternoon. He really documented Douglas very much. But this Picasso here, and then something happens to me with Picasso. It's as though Picasso, who incidentally, I think, I agree with Duran, that Picasso probably was the only guy in the 20th century that really had the ammunition to paint a portrait. He had something in him that he was was a fantastic, I mean, whether it was the portrait of Vola, or the portrait of Una, or Dora Maar, or Marie Therese, he really had a pity for doing portraits. And when Picasso turned away, didn't look directly at something, unlike Giacometti, unlike Durand, had to turn away, then he released a power which was amazing and beautiful. I think it was a marvelous drawing here. I think this is a marvelous drawing. Let's look at another two, though, and see